Hello everyone, my name is Chris Buick and I am here from UK Film Review to give you my thoughts on my latest review for a film called When You Are Gone. This is written and directed by Raphael Altamira, starring Andrew Foreigner, Kelsey MacDonald, Sarah Nichols, Thomas I. Hall and Thomas Blackburn. So this thriller tells the story of our main character James, an architect played by the aforementioned Andrew Foreigner, who at the very beginning of the film we see coming home and cautiously opening the door, and then receives a mysterious phone call from another party telling him to go upstairs and check his emails. Once he does, in there he finds an email with a video link, which when opened, James is then met with the image of his wife strapped to a chair at gunpoint, flanked by two mysterious individuals. Obviously, things seem rather tense, and naturally James starts begging and pleading and eventually threatening them to let her go. But before he knows it, they shoot and kill her right in front of him. Then the link cuts off and leaves James alone in despair. From that point, we go back a little bit and we get a glimpse into what married life was like between James and his wife Sylvia, who's played by Kelsey MacDonald. Everything seems on the surface to be a really happy marriage. They've got the nice house, there's a lot of loving glances and touches between them. But as it progresses, we start to see those cracks in their relationship that kind of hint that their marriage isn't as perfect as we might initially think it is. And that kind of plays out in increasing levels of tension between them until we are back at that horrific moment at the start with the web link. After that, we jump forward a number of years, and it's at this point we see James seems to have somehow got his life back on track following those tragic events. He's doing really well at work, impressing his boss with his work on very important projects, and he even starts a romantic relationship with his assistant. But just when things seem to be turning a corner, James suddenly becomes haunted once again by visions of his wife, and this starts to cause him to go into this spiral of questioning his own mind and sanity. And then on top of all that, he starts receiving demands from an unknown person blackmailing him, claiming to know more about his wife's death than we previously thought there was to it. So that's the general premise we're working with in this film. Right off the bat, in terms of the film itself, I just want to say that I was really quite impressed with this film. I think it's really strongly written and directed, which is a great testament to Raphael Altamira, who takes on both those roles. That can always be a bit of a precarious juggling act to be a writer-director, but I think both aspects are done really well. So what I also really liked about this film is the overall tension and feel and atmosphere and sense of intrigue that the film is not only able to create but sustain pretty much from start to finish. Which is impressive because the film is over 2 hours long. So to have that kind of momentum not waver necessarily in that runtime is quite a feat. It doesn't really ever seem to get to the point of becoming tedious or losing its steam. It ebbs and flows quite nicely. It's allowed time to breathe and rest and have those moments of respite, but it also has those moments where it really amps things up. And there's a certain horror element to this piece, which really becomes alive in certain moments. I mentioned this in the written review as well, but I think Altamira, if he was so inclined, could turn his hand quite easily at being a horror director if he so chose. The only moments where the momentum does take a hit are those moments where the horror makeup prosthetics on display are on full show and highly visible, and being perfectly honest, are very out of place, very over the top, very unnecessary, and are actually quite jarring to the point where it takes you out of the film for a brief time. If that had just been dialed back, it would have gone a long way to really taking this film to the next level. But as it stands, it is a bit of a misstep. It doesn't necessarily take away from the film as a whole in terms of its overall quality, but it does, like I say, give you a minute to pause and take a minute to get back into the film, which the film is very good at doing. If it does do that in those moments, it is quick to pick you back up again and you're soon back on the right track again. The rest of the film does what it does very well, and after those few unfortunate moments, it quickly finds its feet again. The only slight issue this film would be the ending. Without giving anything away, the ending is fine. And the idea of the ending is a good one. It makes sense for the film and fits. However, the execution of it is a little clumsy, and it seems like it's trying to make the pieces fit around the idea, but it doesn't quite marry up. And I think with a few different narrative choices throughout the film and a few different decisions made and how the ending was executed, it would have worked a lot better and helped sell it more, because it does slightly lack a bit in its plausibility. It does work, but it could have been a bit cleaner. But again, it doesn't cause a massive detriment to the film itself. The film itself is still enjoyable, it's still tense, it's still thrilling. The cast put in decent performances across the board. Everyone seems believable, the characters seem authentic, everyone seems to be on the right page in terms of the levels and moods of the film. There's no one overdoing it or going too far one way or the other, or even underperforming. I did really specifically enjoy Eduardo Aznar as the detective, George Darius. He was very entertaining, seemed like he was having a great time in his role, and if there is room for a spin-off for him, then I would absolutely watch that. But in closing, When You Are Gone is a decent thriller. Really enjoyed it. I believe that it's Altamira's first feature as a writer-director, and if that is the case, that he should be very proud of what he's achieved here. I enjoyed it a lot, and if you feel like checking it out, it is available to rent now on Amazon Prime Video. So yeah, go and do that.